1340 96.5 KVGC. On the phone, Douglas Viviani of Everything Old is New again tonight. Douglas and David Cohen anchor our evening programming with the show that examines our pop culture each week, where it came from, and why it's still popular. Hashtag, so you guys need to do this. Hashtag make radio fun again.
Oh, that's actually not a bad idea. I should do that. You're right.
You know what I mean?
But does anybody do that? From what I understand, they'd have to then find the general public, have to find that saying.
From what I understand, see, I've been asking about this for years, and everybody, you don't understand it. You're too old. You don't understand it. You don't. No, I want to understand it.
Right.
So from what I understand is, if there is a hashtag that has make radio fun or again, it will pop up your saying and your page or your account or your whatever. Am I wrong?
I don't know how it works because that's the whole thing.
I know. Why won't someone please explain it to us?
I mean, don't you have to have in your search engine already the hashtag, or pull up the hashtag and search it yourself to get that?
I don't.
Like not every hashtag on the planet comes across your Twitter. You have to have put it in some way or another. So save as a search or a regular thing. Hey, if something comes up with hashtag Avengers, I want to see it. Or you've got to look it up yourself and say, hey, what the heck? Is there a hashtag Avengers? Is there something new on that?
Okay, Avengers. You just brought something up. So I guess it was Thursday. Yeah, Thursday afternoon. Got home. Said, what am I going to watch this afternoon? I'm done with Dark Shadows. I'm not going to watch it again. That you know what I mean? I got, I'm done.
Yeah.
So what will I watch now? So I've been seeing this thing popping up on my. We have a smart TV, so when you turn it on, it pops up. Amazon Prime, Netflix, Hulu, all these, and you get these little. Well, I've been seeing this thing called The Boys. Okay, The Boys. Now, what is The Boys? Right. Well, have you heard about that, Douglas?
Yeah, it's like superheroes that are not good people.
Yes, like the superheroes of the world are actually evil, or if we can say,
basically jerks.
Yes, right. and they're created by this. Anyway, it wasn't bad. It was. I wouldn't let Angelica and Leo watch it. It was there were some sexual situations, and I tell you what, they don't. One of the first scenes in the movie, a girl gets hit by one of the superheroes running by real fast, and I probably gave it away there. I probably shouldn't have said anything. It's gory. But it was okay. It filled the void for me.
It's a new take. Now that's is it something that's going to keep your interest? They're going to watch it every week?
I pretty much, there was 8 episodes, and each was like 22 minutes long, so I watched the whole season, and, that's what's, you can sit down and between 2 and 4, you can watch an entire season of TV, but there's characters, and I'm not going to tell you because I want you to go on this and find it. There are Star Trek characters that are in this show. I want you
actors or characters?
Yes, actors, and they even have at one point they're at someone's house watching TV, and they've got an old episode of what was that show with William Shatner and Heather Locklear, Booker,
T.J. Hooker.
Yeah, there's an episode of that played on the TV in the background. You can see Shatner in the background on the TV. So anyway, just watch it. Just watch it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And
all right, I will check it out.
Yeah.
Speaking of Avengers, something came off in my head. Went off my head. Hashtag Spider-Man. The last, I think it was 3 or 4 days ago, they announced that Disney had an argument or disagreement with, I think it's Sony, who owns Spider-Man. There's a whole mess there. Marvel, before they were sold to Disney, sold off the rights to Spider-Man, and now Spider-Man is no longer, as of right now, in the MCU. So any additional movies from this point forward will not be under the MCU Disney banner, will be under the Sony banner, who did the original first 6 Spider-Men, which weren't bad, but they have Venom and Spider-Man together as franchises, if you will. That's all they have. But it's a disturbing thing because they're not going to, unless they work this out, Spider-Man is no longer going to be in with the Avengers or anything that's new that's happening over the next 2 phases, which they plan for the next 5 years of the Avengers, and I should say of all the Marvel movies.
Do you think
does it mean anything to you? Do you care?
Of all the Marvel characters, Spider-Man is probably the one that could stand on his own. Don't you think so? I mean, if you take, like, let's say DC, Superman can stand on his own and could carry the franchise probably. Batman, probably, but I'd put the money on Superman to carry the franchise.
Well, in the comics,
would you put the money
Spider-Man never really was an Avenger. He came around like 30 years later and hung around with them and during what they call the Civil War age there, with when they were fighting each other, and they worked that out in the movies already. So yeah, I mean it's true. He doesn't need to be in with the Avengers because he never was an Avenger, to be honest with you.
There are 2 grown men right now talking about that. Hey, speaking of grown men, how did Leo like the Ringo concert?
Ringo was good. Leo enjoyed it. It kept his attention. Of course, he's got his all-star band, so he has other music that you do and do not recognize. Some songs from Men at Work and Toto and things like that. So, with times for a break here and there. And for a kid 7 years old, outside on a fold-up chair, he did well. He really was interested. He was taking photos. He wanted to walk up and get closer. He knew, the songs that Ringo was singing, Yellow Submarine and Octopus's Garden. I mean, he really had a good time. It inspired him, and he's now even more of a fan of the Beatles. It's not going away. This love of the Beatles, which he's now, it's got to be about 3 months old. He knows all the Beatles songs that are on YouTube. He likes to watch the live videos or with them performing live. So,
well, be careful he doesn't want to go see Paul McCartney. Then you're going to start.
That's the thing. That's on the list. Now, unfortunately, Paul's not touring as of yet. There's nothing. He's doing Europe, but he's not doing anything local at all. But I'm going to bet that next year he'll want to see him, and I'll have to take him to. I mean, McCartney Ringo plays a place with like 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 people outside in the amphitheater. McCartney plays huge football arenas for 60,000 people. So taking an 8-year-old next summer to that might be a bit of a challenge. But it's got to happen if he's going to be into it. By then, we'll see. I'll spend the money because he's totally into it. It's an odd phenomenon to me, but I'm into it. It sounds good to me.
And you know what? He's going to remember the first time your dad took you to Yankee Stadium, or your mom took you to this, or you went here with your uncle. You know what I'm saying? He's going to remember that the rest of his life. Yeah. I saw Paul McCartney. Now, the other kids his age may not know who Paul McCartney is, but,
Right. Well, he's talking Ringo, and he's definitely remembering that. I mean, I don't know. Do you remember things you did at 7? I guess there's a couple of things that might stick out. I'm hoping that sticks out. And, I'll definitely take him to see McCartney next year. I mean, you got to. I think Paul's 78, Ringo's 79, and going strong.
A friend of mine went and saw the Rolling Stones at Levi's Stadium, which is where the 49ers play, and that was that earlier? Was it like Monday or Tuesday of this week? Might have been. Anyway, the big brouhaha was there's a 10 o'clock noise ordinance, and the Stones played till like 10:45 or so, and the city has a fine of $1,000 for going over the ordinance, and the Stones said, "We'll pay it. We'll pay it. Don't worry about it."
$1,000 is the fine.
Yeah. Not a minute or a second or
Right.
$1,000. So they
I'm
went
surprised about that because 10 is pretty early for a concert to end.
not for me. I'm
I
in bed
know,
by-
and not for the Stones either. But years
Yeah.
ago, I see the Stones a number of times. They play a long time. They go for hours.
Well, have you done everything you wanted to do over this summer?
That's a good question. I don't know. I've been embroiled in getting the house together, and we had a new pool put in, and all this. The last one collapsed last year, so I've been doing that. I wanted to do more activities of the beach and other things, fairs. So I didn't do everything I wanted to, but I've got a couple coming up to finish off the summer, which I think will be fun. We have a new fair coming up down the. Oh, actually, before that, I ate, and I think we spoke about this. I think it was like a 30-ounce ribeye tomahawk steak. I felt like John Candy in The Great Outdoors. Remember that movie?
Didn't you and your brother?
Yes.
Did you share that, or did you eat the whole thing yourself?
We shared it, but this thing was huge, and so I think it was like I don't know the ounces on it now. Maybe it was like 46, and you shared it. Something like it was huge, and boy, it took 2 days to digest. It was tremendous. So I remember that.
When we were driving to
concerts and all that, so I've done some stuff. How
we
about
were,
you?
When we were driving across the half of the country to go from California to Tennessee, we passed one of these places where you sit down, and if you can eat the 48-ounce steak with the baked potato and the meal, you get it for free. And
wow.
Can you imagine? I think it's a porterhouse, 48 ounces. You know how big 48 ounces is?
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah,
like
that's
usually
huge.
the just as a reflection, a big piece of filet mignon is like 10 ounces.
Yeah.
So it's like 4 or 5 of those, and those are the big thick ones I'm talking about.
I think when you go to get prime rib, it's like in 12 or 16-ounce cuts.
There you go. Right.
I think
so
something
it's
like that.
4 prime rib together, stacked together. That's unbelievable. I don't know how you can enjoy it.
Well, I think it's just kind of the, and I did kind of fulfill a childhood. Well, it's not a childhood. It was on. If I have a bucket list, I'm not a bucket list keeper. But if I had a bucket list, I guess I could say that I did fulfill one of those. I got to go to Roswell, New Mexico. Got to go to the UFO Museum.
Nice.
So, take that off the list right there.
I remember seeing the pictures of that. That was a kick.
That
was fun.
And actually, it's a research center, too. They have a complete library. You can go and do your research on this. Folks, to drive all the way from Jackson to Roswell, I don't know if I'd do that. I was on the way, so we made a little detour to go to it. You got to be into it to like it. You know what I mean, Douglas?
Yeah, you have to have. It's almost tongue-in-cheek in a way.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Hey, it was good. It was fun, though. It was fun. But I saw a poster, believe it or not, all the way over here in California. I saw it up for the East Northport Fair coming next weekend.
Yes.
So I was driving down Highway 16, and there it was. Hey, East North Fork or Port. I always want to say East North Fork, East Northport Fair coming. So.
Yes, and they have really stepped up. Over the years, they've been adding every year. They've been adding something new. The Chamber of Commerce runs this, and now I could say it's got some good stuff in there. We've got an old, old car, an antique car show that's going to be there. Of course, they got the rides. They have a pet parade now. You got characters. The Paw Patrol dogs are going to be there in costume, and Orloff and some of the Frozen characters. They've got the magic of Mark and Kim. You know them, of course.
Oh, really?
They've got a huge food court now, not just sausage and peppers. I mean, restaurants from all over the area are coming and setting up. They've got a beer and wine tent, which I think they stole from you guys. They got a farmer's market, and, drum roll, last year they started, and if you remember, I participated in it, and this year it's going to continue the not hot dog but donut eating contest.
Are you going to enter again?
I'm entering again for sure. It's how many donuts can you eat, and it's only 4 minutes. But 4 minutes could be a long time when you're under the stress of having to mash these.
Did you have to drink beer too with it, or was it just donuts? I can't remember.
You can drink whatever you want.
Oh, okay. But
so,
they didn't.
And some people dip them, which is kind of disgusting.
Yeah.
And they're like the glazed ones with the hole in it. They don't give you the ones with jelly and all that stuff.
So everybody has so it's not like here's a dozen donuts, go to it. It's everybody has glazed donuts.
Right. Dunkin' Donuts comes and they supply just those. So they're airy and light, you know.
Sure.
So you could do how many things you could do in 4 minutes? 4 minutes a total. How many donuts do you think you can eat in a minute as an average? Just think about that. I would say of those type, maybe three.
Four, yeah, I was going to say 4, maybe at the really going at it.
So, and if so, can you do that for 4 minutes and then therefore eat 16? I don't think you could do it.
I don't think so.
I think the winner last year was something like I think it was 11, if I remember.
Yeah,
but it was the first time ever. We didn't have the professional guys come in here. Joey Chestnut, no.
Well, they're not coming, are they?
No, they're not. They better not be.
Okay.
So I'm going to give it a shot. I'm not going to eat for like 24 hours, just so I don't get grossed out.
Just so you're hungry.
Yeah, and then I'm going to squish them together into like a hot dog kind of a configuration, and just chunk them down. We'll see what happens.
Why don't you have someone film it and pop it up on your YouTube page?
That's actually a good idea. I will do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wear your Everything Old is New Again shirt and.
That's actually a great idea. I'll do that. I'll have Leo film it. He's my new photographer. He loves all that stuff. Not bad. So
I'm not.
What I'm doing next week. That's a bucket list.
I am not a good friend. I promised you a KVGC shirt, and I didn't send you one yet. What size do you wear? Large?
I'm an extra large.
Extra large? Okay, extra large.
I'll take an extra large, and then in turn I'll shoot you Everything Old is New Again one, and we could wear them on the air and promote each other. To each other, whoever else is watching.
Every Saturday morning I'll wear mine, and every Saturday morning you wear yours.
Right, and on the radio we could profess that, and whether it's true or not, no one will know.
Hey, what's up with this week's show?
Well, we're continuing with a guest that is really pretty big in the entertainment industry. And it's surprising to me that sort of like a Peter Weller, if you know, Peter Weller's been on the show, I believe, 8 times. This is now going to be Kevin Burns' 4th appearance on Everything Old is New Again. Now, he's responsible for the driving force behind Ancient Aliens, Curse of Oak Island, Unexplained with William Shatner, Lost in Space, from Netflix, if you're familiar with that. All these shows are running presently, and he's the executive producer and creator and force behind them. And he has another show coming up, which he'll announce today. I have to keep that a secret. So it's interesting. And what does he want to talk about? For a good portion of the show, he talks about Fred Gwynne, meeting Fred Gwynne as a kid, and how that happened, and how he became pen pals with him in high school. Met him later on in life, and whether that was disappointing or not, we'll find out. And became the foremost collector of Munster's memorabilia. How's that for a rarity?
Wow! Yes. Fred Gwynne will always be. He'll be 2 characters to me. He'll be Herman Munster, of course. He'll be. I think it was Muldoon. What was his character in Car 54?
Right.
Where are you? And then he'll be the judge in My Cousin Vinny.
Yes.
And, Ute. What's a Ute? Ute.
And he was in Pet Sematary.
And Pet Sematary. See, I never got into that one. That was not.
Yeah.
Never got into that one. So, anyway.
Well, he sort of had a tough life. He, I believe, lost a child early in his marriage, and with the Munsters and all that, he was typecast for quite a while, so he was a little upset about that.
Didn't you do a show with him or about him maybe a year ago or so?
We did. We spoke about him. We also did a show. Well, it wasn't always about him. We've never done a show just on the Munsters, but we we've touched upon the topic a number of times.
Okay.
And in fact, we spoke about the Munsters in some good detail with Kevin Burns last year. So that may have been the one you're thinking about. We've done a couple of them. But
I've got to throw this out there. Just because. Is he any relation to Ken Burns?
No.
Okay.
Not in the least.
Just got to throw it out there.
And Kevin Burns is from Schenectady, New Jersey, right around the corner here.
Yeah.
He's the guy that we all could have been. You know, he loves pop culture. He just dove into it and took a chance. And how he got started. He'll tell a little bit about that. And now, I mean, he's in mid-50s, and I think he's a pretty big force. If you've got 4 continuing shows on the air, it's pretty impressive.
I mean, Ancient Aliens, how long has that been on?
I think it's 12th season is coming up now.
I was going to say at least 10 years, I think.
Yeah, so he's got that. Curse of Oak Island's the #1 show on Tuesday nights that's not, the regular TV, cable they used to call it, right? So #1 cable show. Unexplained with Shatner came out of the box a couple Fridays ago. It's on Friday nights at 10, and it's getting some attention. And he's living the dream. Like he watched Star Trek as a kid, and now finally got to meet Shatner, and he's working with Shatner. And allegedly, Shatner is kind of calling him every other day with ideas for the show, and so. It can happen, I guess.
We're running out of time here, Douglas. Yeah. But what are the when he was talking about Bill's cadence, the way he talks, and you're reading it too slow. He was taking, they had timed. I think they were talking about they had timed a segment. But then with Shatner reading in his cadence, it ran long, and you had to tell him, "Hey, don't read like." Do you remember that part of the interview where you were talking about that? Yeah,
it was great. He's talking about how Shatner can be a little curmudgeon. He doesn't suffer fools well, and he had to be, a little. What would you say? Walk on ice there when he was dealing with him. But he's had a great relationship with him so far, and. I don't know. Have you seen the Unexplained? It's like a search of.
Yeah. It's I watched a couple of. You can get it on History Channel on demand. If you miss it, you can.
Okay.
I think they have 2 or 3 episodes up. I think. So,
I think this weekend they're doing Life After Death. So.
All right, tonight we'll see if there's Life After Death at 6:00 with Everything Old is New again. Douglas Viviani and David Cohen here on KVGC. Douglas, good luck next weekend at the East Northport Fair. And how many are you shooting for this
I'm going to shoot for 12.
Okay. 12 glazed donuts. I'll send you a dozen if you do it.
It sounds good to me.
All right.